Welcome to another edition of Essex Wildlife TV. I'm Mark, I'm a Landscape Conservation Area Manager for South Essex. So a lot of my role at Essex Wildlife Trust is about managing nature reserves. Now, I can manage nature reserves, but I seem to be having a bit of trouble with my garden. It's a mess. Now, that's not always a bad thing, but what I want to do is have a look at my garden, look how it's all laid out, see what's actually here first of all, so I need to make sure that I'm not going to trash something that's really important, and all the bits and bobs that I could do something in my garden for wildlife, and that hopefully you could too. So first of all, I've done a quick rough sketch of my garden. So it's about 9 metres long by about 4.5 wide. I've got a big tree at the bottom, big hazel and apple tree that does give a lot of shade across the garden. Unfortunately, there's some good things about that. But what I've got is pretty much a third of my garden is in shade. Then I've got some wildflowers. I actually put some wildflower pellets down in the sunny spot last year, and some of those are doing okay. And then I get morning sun this side, and then I get evening sun and afternoon sun that side. And then I've got a concrete patio. We'll call it patio. We'll have a look at it. It's not really a patio. It's a weedy bit of concrete. But that's pretty much the layout of my garden. But what I really need to find out is what's actually there. So I had already started to prepare some things, and I had this bit of bark cutting that I found, and I drilled some holes in it for solitary wasps and bees. You've seen these little bug boxes. I'm hoping that they might be attracted to that. I will put it in a south-facing position so it's nice and warm, and hopefully they will use that. And then over here I actually found a bag of sand, a bag of builder's sharp sand. Now mix that with a bit of clay and create a little bank around the edge of some bricks or something, or even some logs. The bees could use that as well, and even possibly reptiles if you get them in the garden for basking. So that I'll put that to good use. So as I pointed out earlier, in the middle of the garden where I get the most light, that's where I put some wildflower pellets. So if we have a look over here, we actually get these. These are actually a really nice daisy that grow up fairly high, that butterflies and bees love. We've got some ribwort plantain growing here. We've got some knapweed growing here. That'll be great for the bees later on. And some early flowering red dead nettle down there. But I've also got here, which was a lovely surprise, some red campion. This will come into flower fairly soon. It's not far now, so that'll be enjoyed by the bees and butterflies, I'm sure. So I've got a few goodies here. I've got some logs that I actually managed to get hold of. I've got a few more bricks, actually a snail underneath. But I've got this lovely butler sink. Now I could put some nice herbs in here, or some nice flowering plants to attract the bees. But I could also use them in my cooking as well. And then I've got this lovely tin bath. Now, could create a second pond. Could also just plant it up as well. Would be a really nice feature. It's a little bit retro, so that to try and make my garden look nice as well. It's going to take some work. I've got a piece of corrugated tin here. Now I could put that down. See what would crawl underneath it. Oh, I'd love to have a slow worm in the garden. I know some of you are lucky enough to have them, but I may get them here. You never know. So I will put that down. So there's a few good bits here that I could use that were left over from the build. So if you've got some stuff laying around, some small, some fairly large pots, and even some small ones, and plant some stuff that really will attract the butterflies and bees, and also look really, really nice in your garden. Wildlife garden doesn't have to be just a mess. It can look nice and tidy, but just have some areas that are left uncut and let go to nature. Now, one of the biggest issues that our wildlife faces is habitat fragmentation. And it's no different in your garden. Hedgehogs need to roam hundreds of metres in a night. And one of the things that's stopping those hedgehogs moving around is these. The very common gravel board, probably at the bottom of most fences. Now, by creating a small tunnel, a little hedgehog motorway underneath the gravel board, doesn't have to be very big, 125 millimetres, 5 inches in old money, hedgehogs could get into your garden and in the next garden and roam around, and therefore connecting the landscape for that creature, a creature that really is struggling, but wonderful all the same. So now we're going to venture into the dark depths of the back of the garden, the shady part. It's almost like a woodland shrub layer with the light being cut out by the hazel and apple trees. But what I've got over here, and I found it last year actually, I've got a raspberry plant. So that's really, really good, because that'll obviously produce fruit that the birds can feed on. Might have some myself actually. And then down here, I've got a bay here. All right, not a native plant, but I do actually use it for cooking. But it's almost like, I've got my canopy and then I've got my shrub layer of my woodland. And then over here, to continue with that theme, I've got a self-set hazel. I've also got a holly in the corner there, which will obviously produce berries as it gets older, and then some lovely honeysuckle. Oh, smells so beautiful in the summer. Lots of various moths and pollinators like to be attracted to that. So that's really good. So with a bit of sort of tweaking, I could actually do something with that, I think. So, and then if we go over the back here, I've got my bird feeder hanging up here, empty, needs a good clean. Here, a pile of bricks. Now I'm going to get rid of some of those bricks, but they're already, they're almost like a bug hotel in themselves. Look at that wonderful spider under there. See, as soon as you turn a brick over, actually spiders and bugs, they love piles of rubble or hardcore. So if you've got any and you don't mind it, and it's back in the back corner somewhere, it's actually a really good thing to have in your garden. Then I've got various containers for green waste and compost bin. Actually got a water butt here as well. I could put that to good use. I could set that up on my downpipe of my drain, so that could be pretty good. But then down here I actually discovered this wonderful thing. It's actually a tub that somebody would have planted some flowers in at one point, full of rainwater. I could bury that in the ground, put some planting around the edges, and some rocks to allow amphibians, or rocks, something like that, bricks and things, to let amphibians get in and out of what would be a tiny little wildlife pond, and a really, really lovely feature for the garden. So I definitely will do something with that. So the final thing I've got in my garden that wasn't just kicking around, I have brought it in, are these things. So I've got a Swift box. I need to get that up next few days. I've got a pair of ladders that I'm going to use, and someone that can help me do that as well. And then I've also got this, which is a bee box, and these little individual compartments for the solitary bees to get in. That'd be great. So hopefully they'll be used, but need to get them up sooner rather than later. So the next few days are going to see me busy. So that's it. That's a little tour of my blank canvas of a wildlife garden. It's a mess at the moment, but I've got a lot of ingredients here that could really be put to good use. Tin baths, water butts, an old plant pot that I'm going to sink in the ground for a wildlife pond. I've got a pile of bricks in the corner. I've already got some nice wildflowers in my garden. Bug hotels, nest boxes. All these features are really, really important for our wildlife. And if you can put any one of them in your garden, it would really, really help. Have a wild corner. It doesn't matter if you haven't got a garden. If you've got a window box that you could use to plant some wildflowers, they're beautiful to look at. And the bees and butterflies will really, really appreciate it. So I've got a lot of work to do. Ponds to dig in, nest boxes to put up. It's going to keep me busy for a while. Be safe and be well, and we'll see how I get on.